And I will say, and maybe this is going to be me being spicy, there's no excuse to not have it at this point.
Woo! I love it when you're spicy.
Because you can build a free website these days. Like, there is literally no excuse these days to not have something.
Welcome to the Workhorse Podcast, where we dig deep into the grit, passion, and strategy behind building a successful rural business. We're your hosts.
I'm Kendall Ballantyne, owner of Central Park Farms and Marketing for Farmers.
And I'm Jessica Garza, owner of Moose Valley Ranch and founder of Market in the Mountains.
This podcast is for hardworking female farmers and rural entrepreneurs who are ready to turn their dreams into thriving businesses. From deep diving business strategies that actually work to balancing farm family life and everything in between.
We're here to give you practical tools, candid insights, and a healthy dose of community support. If you're looking for women who actually cheer you on, are willing to tell you the hard truths, and that understand how much it can throw off your day when the cows get out, you're in the right spot.
This podcast is for the doers, the women who don't stay in one spot for too long, for the workhorses.
I'm so excited because I feel like we're circling back into business a little bit more here. We've been watching our topics and just trying to keep it balanced, right? Between having a conversation, sharing our personal lives, and then also kind of walking the fine line of some businessy stuff without being too much. Is that a fair assessment, would you say?
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're showing up, though, in a way that you get something from it. So making sure we're mixing in those like little bit teaching sessions like we are today.
Yeah, so today's a teaching session, with a disclaimer that we're going to talk about 5 things to consider for your business presence. This is in no way judgy. I might get a little spicy. I promised to behave a little bit. I have strong opinions. I know this. I'm not judging you, though. And I feel really bad that you even had to tell me to make sure I was nice.
No. I didn't, well, I mean, I did say that, but that was not the reason. The reason is that I just remember what it was like in those first early years when you're showing up at the capacity or with the tools that you have at that time, and it's all you've got. And then feeling like we want to be careful to not make somebody feel like they're not showing up the best way that they can. Because I get it. I was, when I started out, I didn't have any of the things. I was just slinging some chickens for cash in my driveway and didn't have any of the back end organized. And I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. So I was just like a girl with a couple whole roaster chickens under her arm at the end of her driveway, taking a check.
Dream.
With a dream. So I just want to make sure that if you are in that position, that you don't listen to this and leave and be like, dang, that's, this community is not for me because I'm not there yet. Because you're all welcome here.
You are all welcome here in whichever spot you are. And honestly, if you are here listening to a free podcast, you are light years ahead of the significant amount of money that I spent to learn things that were readily available for free. So you got one up on me there. And I think sometimes I don't realize how direct I can be and how strong my opinions come across, even when they're maybe not like set in stone. I think it's just that sort of command presence. It feels like there's no wiggle room. Is that what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're like, someone else looks at you and is like, oh, dang, girl. And you're like, whoa, no, I'm fine. That's just my normal face.
And this came up because number 3 that she came up with, she had a judgy thing. And I was like, hang on, I still have that.
It wasn't judgy. I promise you. Like, I don't judge. I think that there's so many people that don't know what they don't know. And how are you supposed to know if we don't have the conversation? Like, if we were to pussyfoot around it and not say it out loud, and then you don't know, I'm not saying you have to go out tomorrow and flip the script and have all of these things crossed off, but it's a good conversation to have. And it's one that I'll have with someone sitting at coffee. However, I can smile when I'm across the table at someone with coffee. And you that are listening, I'm going to focus on smiling while I'm talking, because much like a phone call, when you do that, you can tell when someone's smiling. So I'm going to do that.
And with that intro, we're going to get into 5 things that you need to consider when it comes to your business presence. So Jess, kick us off. What's number 1?
My favorite thing by far is branded photos, making sure that you have a very cohesive look to represent your brand across whatever media that is, whether it's on your website, whether it's on your social media, whether it's on your thank you cards or your packaging. I waited so long to pull the trigger on branding photos. They felt really expensive. They felt really unnecessary. I had an expensive camera in my pocket. I knew how to do presets. It was not the same. And I didn't realize until I pulled the trigger on branding photos and started to use them, what a difference it would make in just the forward facing appearance of my brand.
I feel like it also makes creating content a lot easier. We did professional photography, not straight out the gate by any means, but once we started to, I realized how much easier it was when I went to go write an email newsletter, that I just had a photo to pull that started me off on having a story to tell about the farm, or had a product photo that I was able to put in there. And I'm telling you, I sold meat for years and years and years with not a single meat photo, professional photo of my product. And if you are a meat producer, you know it is so hard to take a nice photo of your product. We're not flower farmers. We're not producing something that's really, really beautiful to look at. So it's a lot harder to get a beautiful meat photo. And so I get it. It was just not in the budget for us. We actually didn't do branding photos on the product end of things until probably about a year and a half ago. Game changer when we did. We didn't need them out the gate because we were at farmers markets. But once we started leaning into only selling e-commerce and things like that, people want to see those products. They want to see you. They want to see your family. They want to see your products. They want to get a good idea, particularly for those of us who are relying on sales avenues that are in sales channels that are not in front of people.
I don't think you see the direct return on, like you're talking about your email newsletter. I don't think I saw the content side of it get a lot easier until I kind of had a bank of different photos.
Yep.
When the first session happened, it was like, oh, these are beautiful. I needed them for this specific reason. And then I really struggled with like, how did this fit into, because it's almost jarring when you don't have them and then you're sort of like trying to integrate, but you only have one album. And so I think it wasn't until I had like 3 probably shoots that I felt, oh, I can pop in. Even today, I was making a reel and it was about the boys. It was a joke. It was just a funny about being a boy mom. And I just went back through an old album. It was 2 years ago. They're ripping around on 4-wheelers and I was able to grab the photo and use it still. Even though they're much older now, it's an action shot with dust and the boys have a helmet on, so you can't even tell how old they are, truthfully. It worked perfectly for a reel cover and it keeps my feed really cohesive, but it did take investing over and over again I just don't want someone to go out, book a brand photo shoot and then be like, why doesn't this feel like the magic wand for social media?
Yeah, and I think it's different for the farm, at least for me. When we come and bring a photographer in, we're like changing outfits, we're spending some time together. We're getting a pretty big album to be able to do that. So we try to shoot like seasonally. So while the fall album, we are in the store, we're on the farm, we're with animals, we're kind of like doing different things on the farm. So I get a lot of content in one single shoot or 2 single shoots that we can pull from.
Oh, yeah, because mine was primarily when I started events. And so it would be like that sole event was what I was able to have photos of, and then it wouldn't work. But that makes sense if you have full branding shoots.
And the great thing about farm branding shoots is I would just get the kids and everything. Like it'd be family photos at the same time. So it kind of like makes it a little bit more, I could justify it because then it was all of the family and I could get some of those pictures blown up and put in my house and
make sure. And I didn't realize when I started how much you need to communicate with your photographer about how many outfit changes does this cover? How many final photo edits am I getting back? How, what are you prepared time-wise, especially if you're on any sort of land or acreage? For us, it takes almost 25, 30 minutes to get around the base road of the ranch. So if I want photos at the farm school and then the apple orchard, I have to make sure that photographer knows. So communicating with your photographer is key so you know what you're getting. There's nothing worse than expecting like a gallery of 300 or 400 and getting 20 back. That's hard.
Yes. And also understanding what your rights are to use them, your usage rights. Some photographers allow you to use them in different ways. Some have really narrow scope of what you're allowed to do with the photos. Even if you're in them, a photographer owns the rights to the photos that they take. So making sure that they know if you're planning to put it in a magazine that you're going to be featured in, or if you want to use it in some sort of advertising, that you know that you are allowed to do that with those photos that they take.
Be very careful about that and be very good about giving them attribution when necessary, especially if you're submitting to a publication like that, just making sure that they know who did it. And please never, ever, 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 ever put a filter over a professional photo, ever.
I was just thinking it in the back of my head that I was going to say that, because we have to think about the fact that a photographer is an artist and that is their art. So if their colors and the editing that they do doesn't line up with the vision that you want for your farm, please find a different photographer, because that is their art and it's a poor representation of the work that they're doing if we go in and we make all of those changes.
Yeah, don't go to like scrolling on Instagram and finding some really warm Western style vibe and then asking them to shoot in a clean, light and airy. Like that's not their wheelhouse. Find a light and airy photographer, talk to them, have those conversations. I do usually run it past my photographer that, hey, I may change this to black or white or put transparency up behind it. I tend to do a lot of overlays on my photos and a lot of like infographics where I need to change it in that sense, but I'm only turning up and down the transparency. So I'm not changing their actual tones. I still ask them about it. I don't know. I just think that's like best practice. Okay, I said I wasn't going to get judgy. I'm not going to get judgy, but if you put a filter over a professional photograph, that's a no-no.
I agree. I agree for sure. And if you are not in a position to get professional photo shoots done, please consider the quality of your phone camera, because I see a lot of people who are in this space that want to have the business that has the Instagram account that you're selling online and things like that. And I could care less about my phone, except for the fact that I have to have a new phone because I need the quality of the camera. And sometimes, especially in the agricultural space, I'll see farmers come up and they want to start kind of trying to do things on Instagram and they want to start creating content. They want to be able to market themselves that way. And they're kicking an iPhone 4, which my husband would love if he still had his iPhone 4, but it's just not the video quality that you need when you're showing up in that way. So wipe the grease off your lens before you take the photo. Make sure you've got the best quality phone that you can have so that you're putting out content that is of quality, because it is unfortunately expected these days. When you're online and you're scrolling and you see a crappy video quality, people aren't paying attention.
You can also, just recently, I had a reel, I uploaded it and I was like, wait, why the heck is this blurry? That's weird. Like I never shoot in something that should show up blurry. Go in and check your settings in social media, like your upload quality. You can change the quality of it. So make sure you're uploading at the highest quality. If you are wanting your tones to look a little bit more cohesive, you can go look for a preset pack. You can buy preset packs from a lot of your favorite photographers, probably offer them on their websites. Presets are essentially a file you download to your phone. You can use Lightroom Mobile, and then you go in and you select that specific set of presets to put over the top of whatever photos you've taken on your phone. And so that's another good like baby step, a little bit better than nothing. But if you're not quite ready for branding photos, I really wish I would have done branding photos more and sooner. It just felt like a really big expense.
And I'm not somebody who thinks my entire feed needs to be super cohesive. For those of you, if you are going over to my feed right now for the farm and you are wondering what I'm talking about because it's not totally perfect and cohesive, I want to show up real and authentic as myself.
Yes.
But I also want content faster and easier, and I can put out more content when I can mix in some professional stuff. And I'm a words person. I'm a writing person more than an artist in the form of photography and things like that. So I would rather be able to, for example, in my newsletters, use a professional photo, get past that part that's harder for me to get into the part where I'm writing, because the writing is what comes easy to me. So I'm willing to outsource the hard and focus on the areas of my business that I'm better at.
I agree. I love it. Okay, let's move to number 2. This is a sneaky one, and I think I've seen it the most on market applications, is where it really started to catch my eye. When I first started out, I did events.moosevalleyranch at, the normal Hotmail, Gmail, whatever, .com. And having a custom domain email, I didn't even know how to do it. I didn't even know how you got that. I mean, I had the website that I had bought and paid for, and I had no idea how I got it to say at Moose Valley Ranch. So I just left it with that simple, normal email. But it makes a huge difference to see when someone has a custom domain email. I instantly kind of go, oh, okay.
And it shouldn't be that way, but it is. It is. I agree. And
I'm not trying to, I'm saying this with a smile on my face, but it does set you apart. It really does.
The funny thing is, now as a company for Central Park Farms, we have so many, we've got info and admin and J and all of this. And depending on which email I send a response from, for example, if we've got a supplier that's sending us an email and I respond back from admin versus my name, it's still me responding to both. Mm-hmm. But I get wildly different reactions from the people, taking one more seriously than the other, for example. It's just kind of funny to see how people react just based on the email address that's sending it.
It's a certain level of professionalism. It is. And it looks sharp and it looks nice when it's on your printed materials and it's your brand name one more time, even at the bottom of your website or wherever. I did just have a conversation with a custom web developer. They're saying now not to put your email on your website, which, full disclaimer, mine is on my website. But apparently that's part of the spam bot issue, is that they're running and gleaning all of these emails off of your websites because they're just publicly available. So it just grabs it and then it adds it to whatever list it's selling to the next thing. And so they're really pushing for contact forms, that you do a contact form that lands in your inbox, but that you don't have your actual email on there. I've wondered how they got my email, and that makes so much more sense. I'm like, wow, these really random companies must be going to my website. No, false alert, they're not. I'm on a list somewhere. But I don't love that.
I mean, I do know if you're going to put one of those contact forms, you need to do the thing where it verifies that you're a human, because apparently they can get, a girlfriend of mine who owns a company locally here called The Local Space, she got hacked because of one of those. So make sure that if you have one, and she went and did a PSA on Instagram and said, my website got hacked because of that contact form, make sure you go and have one of those things where the people have to click, I can't remember what it's called right now, and then you verify that you're actually a human and that it's not, a bot going through and doing that. So there is something to be said about that. But particularly for those of us who don't have our address on our websites or on our business cards, who don't want our cell phone number maybe on our business cards, you need to have something. And that something, hopefully, if you're only wanting to put an email address and that on your business card or on whatever you're putting out into the world, that it's not at hotmail.com.
And if you don't know how to get a custom domain email, Google it. If you have Squarespace, just Google it. It's hooked up through G Suite. Once I started digging into it, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be once I got into it, but I definitely had to sort of time block out a chunk of time. This is what I'm going to tackle. I'm going to get this set up come hell or high water. And then I have found in the last year or so, I really needed, like you were saying, some different. I didn't want Jessica at moosevalleyranch.com on gift certificates that I was giving for people to give for Christmas presents. I wanted it to be something that wasn't my first name. I just felt like that was weird. I don't know why, but I went in and made an alias, and it was free, and it still goes to my same inbox. So it's not creating a whole new inbox for me. It's just an alias. And then when they email that, it pops into my normal email inbox. When I reply, it comes from Jessica at, but at least then in the public. So if you didn't know that that was an option, I mean, I don't even know until 6 months ago that you could do the alias thing for no extra cost.
And it's so smart, because I have to, for Central Park Farms, because we have so many staff, we've got different email addresses for different people. So we have to hold those. And when you do that, it's really expensive. It's crazy expensive. By the time we were said and done with putting all of the different, J and admin and info and all of those different things, it really adds up. But having one standalone is not bad. And so then to do the alias trick that Jess was just talking about for free on the one singular custom domained email, it's much more affordable.
I didn't think it was a huge expense. I mean, I guess I haven't gone in and looked at it, but I mean, God, they get you everywhere, right? Like they get you in the data storage for your Gmail. They get you in the storage on your photos. You need an extra, you're out of your 200 gigabytes of free Google Photos storage. And so I kind of feel like at some point you just pay to play the game and it's like,
I'm
okay,
like
here's another charge.
$1,600 for email.
Oh, what? I'm not, no. What?
Yeah, yeah.
Holy smokes.
Not per month, per year. But
Oh,
still,
woo.
no, it's not per month.
Yeah, but that's only like
$1,600 though.
that's only like $120 a month. Okay, that's a much.
That's a lot.
Yes, but I thought you meant a month.
$1,600. I know, but for if you're a smaller business and you're trying to become profitable, $1,600 is a lot.
Yeah.
When you're just trying to make a profit. For us, it's like, it's not the end of the world at the scale, obviously at the scale of our company, it's not a big deal, but that would have been monumental for me when I was that girl with the 2 chickens under my arm in the end of the driveway.
Yeah, but I want to say, I think when I got mine, it was like in the neighborhood of $10.
Yes.
To get a custom domain, like we're talking $10 a month and no return on that investment, right? Except for it just looks really clean. So if you can, when you're ready, also if you if you think that you are long-term in this business and you are going to start handling professional associations and contracts and just like that ongoing relationship, it sucks to still have to go check the old one because I didn't pull the trigger on the new one yet. And then people will send me stuff to the old one and I don't really like use it anymore. But there's still some people from 3 years ago that like that's the email they have for me. I wish I would have gotten that so much sooner.
My new bookkeeper needed some random piece of paper that I would have got when I first got set up. And I needed to go back in and I had set it up using that old @outlook.com email address. And I had to go try to find that login. I couldn't remember the password. And then it was like, oh, no problem. We'll send it back to there. I was like, I can't get it.
That doesn't help me.
LC 0.
And then that recovery email is set to your old personal email from college and you can't even remember what the numbers were. Yeah.
To my old phone number that's no longer. Yeah, no, all the things. That's
do better
what was
than
happening.
Us.
Yes.
Just jump on that. Once you know this is a long-term investing in your future, engaging professionally, jump on that. Our third one, this is the one that we were talking about. And Kendall was like, so I'm saying this with a smile. The third for me specifically, and just a conversation in general, I guess, professional logo.
Yes. Now, caveat that Marketing for Farmers has a logo that I made on Canva, but it's text only. And I'll be honest, it's not fantastic, but it also didn't cost me anything. And I have gotten slightly better at managing graphic design through Canva and things through the years. In fact, I was just joking to Jay the other day because I was doing a PowerPoint presentation for a keynote that I was doing. And I was like, man, my layouts and things like that are so much better now 10 years in from what that my logo would have been so terrible 10 years ago trying to put something together on Canva.
I think I feel like professional logos in the sense that if you're using the templates on Canva, you cannot be surprised when you see other logos that look jarringly similar to yours because they use the same exact template, tweaked the color and, the same shape, the same everything. That's where I think you really can set yourself apart. If you go in and you create a logo and you're by scratch and, you didn't use a template, I guess, that's a step up, in my opinion, than just entering your business name in a pre-made template. I think
you can't trademark it or anything, though, if it's made in Canva, even if you didn't use the template. So be aware of what the rules are around that. If suddenly you are the most popular fill in the blank type of business and you're being sold in grocery stores or in big retail establishments, obviously, we do not recommend that being your next step. We're in the middle of a rebrand, though, for the farm right now. I mean, we have a professional.
Again?
We have a logo that was developed. So originally our very, very first logo was drawn by a friend of mine a long time ago. And then in 2018, we kind of did a little bit of a rebrand. We did a website. We got a logo professionally made. But we're doing a rebrand with a new logo. But we're going quite a bit further now with Central Park Farms. We're doing Jay wants swag.
I feel like you just finished a rebrand. Was that
no, we did our website and we changed our brand colors at that point and stuff like that. But this is we're doing the branding to be able to go on the wrap of the delivery van. We're
Yes.
like, of our
Okay.
Sprinter van, we're doing, Jay wants t-shirts and hats, and like he wants to brand the meat shop independent from the farm.
Are you
He
going to have
wants
custom
swag.
tape? Are you going to have custom tape?
We don't do tape for our packaging, so we're not going to. We cryovac everything, so we're not like butcher paper and taping, and we're not taping boxes. But he wants to get custom made boxes for our wholesale division.
There it is. I was going to say, if you're taping something, but what if you have swag and someone orders it? Wouldn't you tape it in a box? Or would you put it in a poly mailer?
I don't know. I guess I hadn't gotten to the point of thinking that somebody outside of the people who shop at my store were going to buy my swag.
I would buy a sweatshirt. I would buy a sweatshirt for me and the boys. I just feel like, you've made it if you have custom tape. I don't know why. Don't ask me. There's no solid business backing behind that. But if you have custom tape,
funny,
or custom poly
mailers,
bags,
yeah,
yes, not so much the boxes, because I feel like a lot of people are doing the boxes with the brand. Looks nice. That to me kind of feels like an industry standard now. And I do the boxes with the brand.
No. I mean, Jay wants custom printed boxes.
Yes. No. That's what I mean.
Division.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've seen some people switching over to that style of stuff. I just, for whatever reason, it has stuck in my head that if you have custom tape,
you really made it in the world.
You've made it if your business can sustain purchasing tape that's more expensive just so that you're the only one that has it.
Isn't that funny how we find those like little things and hang on to it? Like, I know I will have made it when, or like, that means my business is a big girl business.
When you see me packaging a box of swag and it has like some sort of cool custom tape on it, will someone just send me a message that says like, congratulations, you've made it?
Yeah. So we're in the process right now of doing it.
Oh, shoot. We were talking about logos. Sorry. Woo, squirrel moment. It's been a day. I just think it's something to really consider. I have loved, well, at first, so I had my logo drawn by a friend who was a graphic designer. She did my logo work for me. And I don't even remember how we settled on it. Well, I know I asked her for some, she won't mind me sharing this. I know I asked her for some moose artwork and I got back elk.
Oh, my God, that's so funny.
She's not an outdoor girl at all. Not nothing like, not in her wheelhouse. And so she's like, I Googled it and found these really great, like, this is what it said. And I was like, that's not a moose, honey. And she said, but it on Google, that's what came up. And I'm like, Google's wrong.
Doesn't matter.
So I don't know where we got like drilled down into those trees, mountains, black and white. I, for a long time, felt like a real oddball with it. I felt like it didn't match the vibe. I was seeing the circle on everything, which I know there's, psychological reasons for that. But it felt like everybody had a circle logo, had just some other stuff. And I felt really weird about mine.
Well, and circle logos are very common because they fit into like the Instagram profile and stuff like that. So one thing to keep in mind, so if you're at the point where you're looking to get a logo developed, make sure you're aware of how does it print, how does it scale, how can it go onto swag, do you have appropriate submarks? So where you might have a bigger, more detailed logo that works great on printed, like printing on paper and stuff on orders and an email and on your website, maybe you need some submarks that are going to be able to be like your Instagram profile. I prefer a photo personally, but if you want to be able to have a logo or some things that incorporate into other areas of your branding package, aside from just your logo, so that you have kind of a cohesive package when you're doing that development. But making sure if you have a plan that you want to be able to have baseball hats or hoodies, or you want to be able to have it on a big banner, that these things translate or that they print nicely into black and white for those of you who might be sending invoices in the future and things like that.
Yeah, I don't think I realized that the more colors you have, the more expensive it is if you're going to print anything, like have t-shirts made or something like that. And then how necessary a one color version is. That I think that was the first like reiteration of my logo that we had to have done, was that I needed it in one color because it was going to be burned on something or print or leather patch or whatever, and it requires a one color. That's where working with a professional, I do feel like when you sign up for a brand package, generally you're going to get some of those options that you won't necessarily see just in Canva. I know like I struggle, my main logo with the trees and the mountains does not go square. Like it does not go square and it just doesn't look right. It does, however, make a really cute bottom letterhead because the trees in the mountains stretch out longer.
Yeah.
Fun facts. So, you'll learn as
Yeah.
you go.
I think that for me, the biggest thing when I started to get kind of those branding pieces in place is how much easier it was for me when I needed to go in and just quickly make something on social media or quickly make a sign to put up at the end of the driveway for the farm. And those pieces became easy for me to DIY because I had those foundational pieces that had been done by a professional. It just made all the other things come together in a way that you my DIY is not as good as a professional can do, but it's passable because it has elements that were developed by somebody who's a professional, so you don't notice it as easily.
That consistency is so key too. That's part of what takes your whole presence to the next level. When people can look at something and instantaneously recognize that that's your business, I feel like that's a good indication of when okay, I'm nailing this sort of branding business presence. I love that.
So do I.
Running a rural business isn't for the faint of heart. Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or building a small town business, you know the challenges and the rewards better than anyone.
That's why we created the Workhorse Collective, a monthly coaching membership designed for rural business owners and farmers who want practical marketing strategies, real community, and results that actually matter. Gain expert guidance and live sessions tailored to your unique challenges. Connect with other driven business owners who share your values. Get professional feedback to fine-tune your marketing and grow your business. Join on your terms with flexible options that fit even the busiest schedules.
This isn't fluff or theory. It's hands-on support from people who live and breathe rural businesses, just like you.
Visit the link in today's show notes to learn more and become part of a community that's working smarter, not harder, to grow thriving rural businesses. The Workhorse Collective, real tools, real results, and real connection.
Because when rural businesses succeed, our communities thrive.
So we are up to number 4, which kind of leans in, and that is having a web presence, having a website, having a landing page that you own on the internet, whether it is basic or a very in-depth website.
Please have a website, have a web presence, even if it's a simple landing page collecting emails that just lets people know that you're there. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's been a long day.
Yeah, and I think too it leans to that whole custom domain on having an email address like that, having a website and securing those assets for yourself. You went out there and you picked a brand name. Hopefully you double check that you could, actually have that brand name and you went and got those different resources. But when you do that, please get all of them. Because if you plan to take the business seriously and you want to scale it up and you want it to move beyond maybe a hobby or a little side thing or what have you, making sure you have all of those pieces in place so that you don't have somebody go along and snag out that URL for you, that custom domain, so that you can't get the @centralparkfarms.com anymore or the www.centralparkfarms.com. You don't want those things taken from you. So you want to make sure you lock them up. And then once you have those, making a basic landing page, even if you're not ready for a full-blown website, having something so people can learn about you is important.
I feel like we should probably back it up at that point. What we're saying is if you haven't launched your business yet, you haven't started yet, 1, Google the name you want to see what else is out there. 2, check it's called the USPTO TPO website where you can check if things are trademarked. You don't want to use a name that's been trademarked by someone else. So go check all that before you settle on a name and start putting it on things. Go check that. And then once you've settled on it, you're good to go, then grab everything. So that's when she's saying all those assets Kendall's talking about. Go grab the Instagram handle, the Facebook handle, the TikTok handle, go get the domain, just owning the www.moosevalleyranch.com, whatever iterations of that you might want. Own it all, even if you're like, I'm not ready for social medias. I'm not saying post it. Kendall's not saying go post on it. We're just saying go grab them, have the sign in so that nobody else can get them from you.
For example, this podcast, Jess and I had no indication or no desire to create an entirely new website specific for this podcast. It was not what we were looking to do. But the last thing that we wanted to do is launch this into the world it ends up being something that we want to continue to do, if it ends up, we just didn't want somebody else to come along and be like, oh, the Workhorse podcast and go buy it. So we own the workhorsepodcast.com, the Workhorse Retreat, the Workhorse Collective. We own any variation of the terms that we use within our business that we do together so that nobody else could come along and take it from us. We don't have those all in play right now, but they're owned by us, and it's a very low cost for us to hold that to make sure that somebody else doesn't go take it on us.
Yes. And please don't skip the trademarking step, the checking for trademarking, because there's nothing worse than getting a cease and desist letter. And then if you're at a point where you know you're going to take it seriously, it's time to consider trademarking. We weren't even planning on talking about this, but I think that it gets lost a lot, especially in the small startups that we see in our space, in our community a lot, is you kind of just like throw it up there and start going with it. But trademarking can really protect what you have. And there's probably more on that for another day, but something to consider. Having that web presence is key, I think, in setting yourself apart. So if there's 9 different bouncy house companies in your area, and I go to Google bouncy houses, Yakima, Washington, you want to be the one that comes up. If I'm starting to enter into conversations on Facebook Messenger or, I don't know, what other weird places, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, and I'm going, I want to make sure this is really a real thing, the first thing I'm doing is going and Googling it. And if you're legitimate, you want people to find a spot that shows, oh, this is a real thing. This is a real business. I'm comfortable booking with them, purchasing from them. I feel like I'm going to get my product, whatever that is. The web presence makes a big difference there.
And I will say, and maybe this is going to be me being spicy, there's no excuse to not have it at this point.
Woo! I love it when you're spicy.
Because you can build a free website these days. Like, there is literally no excuse these days to not have something. So
and I'm sorry, if you're so tech savvy that you don't know how to do it, then hire someone. Go hire a student at the college. I guarantee you someone somewhere knows how to do something. I will 100% agree with you on that. I think there's just some people, and I've seen it with market, that just don't want it. They're so old school almost, I think is the word I'm trying to think of, that just adamantly against it. I think it does more harm than good to them.
I can see people being like, line in the sand, I don't want to be on social media, and that's not their business, and they go to markets and they get in front of people that way. I totally get it. I just think a website, though, is you do it and you can leave it. I recommend for search engine optimization and all of that to do more than just set it and forget it.
Listen, we're not giving away the whole course here.
At the very least, you can create it and let it sit so that there's something out there that you have ownership over.
That hits the nail on the head. Have ownership over it. Own your online presence. We have a whole episode on that.
And Jess, what's number 5?
Oh, number 5. This is where I get a little spicy. Payment processing is a big one to me. It has been proven time and time again, if you are a cash-only business, you are missing out on sales.
Absolutely.
People do not keep cash like with exceptions, right? But do not keep cash on them like they used to. And if you aren't accepting forms of payment that people have, you're losing the sale.
I will say, as a previous market vendor, market manager, and board member for large markets in my area, it is the thing that infuriates me most when people say, well, it's a farmer's market, I'm just going to take cash. I'm like, you are absolutely missing sales. There are people who are absolutely coming to your booth and realizing they didn't bring enough cash, so they are buying less from you because that's the amount of money that they have, or they're not buying from you at all. And it is so easy these days to have a Square reader. It's very low cost, and that is just a cost of doing business that you need to incorporate into your pricing. I am the spicy one after this. Warning.
No, because I just haven't even said my thoughts on this. I don't think if you are a business, you should be accepting payment via personal payment apps. I don't think that. To me, I really don't like it. I think it smacks of, I don't know, maybe it's the rule follower in me that's like, this is, it was a big discussion, maybe a year ago in the photographer space. I think it was the photographer space. I'm pretty sure it was. that they were taking payment by Venmo to avoid the fees and transactions and tax reporting. And then something I think changed in Venmo, and I'm talking about this with Kendall, which if you guys don't know, they don't have Venmo in Canada. So anytime I say
We
Venmo,
don't
she
do
doesn't know
Venmo
what's
for
going
this
on.
reason.
Right.
Our banking system in Canada does not allow Venmo because of tax evasion purposes.
And I get it, right? Like nobody likes the fees. Nobody wants to pay more than they need to in taxes. I just don't think it's a good look to take payment in your Venmo with a wine glass emoji. I just don't think it is. And I get that, I take PayPal. I take every credit card. I take bank transfer. I try to take every single payment form that you want to give to me. I will take it. You want to give me your money, I will take it. But that one, just up your prices to accommodate for the fees and have a card reader, have the professional invoicing system or barter. Have them bring chicken eggs and you hand them beef, and then you know what? Then I have zero judgment. You want to barter? That's
Botox for steak? Is that what you're talking about?
100%. If it is a good for good, service for service trade, I don't feel as strongly about it. And I'm always happy to barter and trade. And I love that because cash isn't the only thing out there, or money, what is that? It's not money. What do they call it?
Yeah, we don't have Venmo for that reason in Canada. We do have PayPal, and I accept PayPal, but it's through our company. For me, it's the fact that I want my business to be a certain caliber of business, a certain scale and size of business. And in order to do that, and in order for me to have a really good idea of whether or not I'm making money or losing money, I have to have a record. So to me, it's all great. And even in the trade and barter, and hey, I'm not going to get here and talk about whether there's government taxes and all that. That's a dispute for somebody else's podcast. What I am saying is I want the data available so that I can make smart business choices. And if I'm selling for cash at the farmers markets, my radishes, and I'm not reporting that anywhere, I don't have the ability to know whether or not I'm making money or losing money. I like the data points to be all there. I want things to be going through proper bank accounts. I mean, say what you want, but that's how I like handling my business, so that my bookkeeper knows what's going on, so that I can get, an accountant telling me you are making money or this is actually your cost of production, because we're tracking that. And I can't if everybody's sending me a Venmo with a wine glass.
And you can have a professional or you can have a business Venmo. I think you can have it linked in. You can have it where it goes. Gosh, I don't know the details on that. Honestly, I don't use it a ton for that. Every once in a while for a reimbursement or something from someone, they'll drop it in my account there. But I always code it with whatever it is. I don't know. Also, I have to say, I found it so intriguing that when you were watching me Venmo someone in the US, we were just hanging out, or maybe it was dinner with friends and I was paying my portion of Venmo and I pulled it up and you were like, what is all of this? And I said, oh, that's what other people are paying other people. And she's like, you can see other people's transactions. It didn't even hit me as weird until you said that.
That is the craziest shit I have ever seen, is that you can just look at what somebody else is spending their money on.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is still blown about that. In what universe would you want somebody to see your transactions and you sending your money to your friends? That was crazy to me. Never would I ever.
Yeah, I think I use my Venmo a lot for paying my mom back if she picks up groceries for me, or
then I'd be able to see that you sent your mom money. That's
not necessarily. So if you change your settings in there, you can make them private to where nobody can see them. It's not weird for us, but I have set stuff where specific amounts or something like that. And I don't want people to know. I don't know.
If you're on Jess's Venmo, just know what you sent your money on, because I looked.
I'm going to go delete my Venmo now. I feel so shamed over my Venmo.
Go change that setting, you guys. I don't know. It's weird. And then we don't have Venmo, so maybe it's just a difference in culture. Here, we would not want people to know where we were sending our money.
Is it the new income claim? New, I don't know. Is it the new status symbol
bizarre.
if you've got a bunch?
Maybe. If you're like, look at how much money I'm sending to other people. I don't know. I just thought it was weird. I've never seen anything like that.
I don't want my flex to be how much cash is going out the door.
Yeah.
That's not the flex I want.
No, I want as much coming in. But I use PayPal, but it's definitely attached to our business.
I really have a hard time too when I go to like check out somewhere or whatnot and it like doesn't have. I love my credit card because I get points on it left and right. I mean,
So do I.
obviously that becomes with very good habits of payment in full. So there's no interest carryover and things like that. But I really want those points because I'm one of very few that's milking the credit card systems. And if I get to the bottom and I can't pay with my card, I get mad. Also, half the time, if you don't know, we both use and love Wally cases. This is not an advertisement for them. We don't get any kickback for it, but we both happen to have these cases on our phones. They only hold like 2 cards. So I usually have my ID and then my one most used card in here. If you don't take it, likely I don't have another card on me. It's in the safe.
And I've had customers, because I get a lot of pushback from farmers when I say, like, make sure you're taking all these different forms of payment, meaning PayPal, credit card on your e-commerce site. And a lot of times, and I get it, there's issues with PayPal that some people don't like you can get charged back if there's a dispute, and I get that. But I'm telling you that people require PayPal. I'm somebody who's really bad for that because I never have my credit card on me. So if I go in there and my credit card is attached to my PayPal, and so if I go in and you don't have your credit, you don't accept PayPal on your website, there's so often that I'm like, oh, I'll just have to go and do that when I'm sitting back at my desk, and as if I'm going to do it, like I'm not remembering. ADHD, you had me in the impulse in that moment. And if you can't take the form of payment that I have available with the touch of my finger, then you are losing my sale, because I'm going to squirrel off and go do something else. And I've had customers, we had done some changes to our website and it disconnected from our PayPal for, a day or whatever. And I had customers emailing me saying, Kendall, I have a bunch of stuff in my cart and your PayPal button's gone. I can't check out. They literally could not make the transaction any other way than PayPal because they don't have a credit card. Like, there are people who don't have credit cards and things like that. So putting those other options in there is important. But I personally cannot Venmo. And if I could, I would not.
I get that it is so annoying when you have to start processing out, especially in the bookkeeping end of these things, all of these different payment processors, all of the total amounts of fees that you've paid, backing those out of what you're paying taxes on, what you're not paying taxes on. It's a nightmare. And I know that it's a cost of doing business, though. Part of this is there's just some general low thresholds that in order to be a real big girl business, for lack of a better word, that sounds bad. And I'm not trying to judge you if you don't do it this way. But like, at some point, you just have to accept there are some of these costs that you are going to have to incur to level up.
I could not manage our business at the size and scale that it is if it wasn't being done this way. If I didn't have these different pieces in place, our company would not be the size that it is today, because there's no way that I could manage it. There's no way that I could be bringing in as many new customers. There's no way that I could be developing that trust with people to get them to make a transaction with me on the internet when they've never met me without some of these things in place. It's what is expected in business in 2025. Thank you for listening to this episode. We know there are only so many hours in the day, so we're honored you choose to spend some of your time with us. If you're one of the many rural women entrepreneurs who are struggling to find true community and step-by-step support that actually moves the needle in your business, join our signature group coaching program, the Workhorse Collective. You can find more information in the show notes of today's episode.
Together, we've set out to support and connect with women in rural business. If you found this episode valuable, we'd love it if you'd share with another woman in your circle. It would also be incredibly helpful if you would take a moment to leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and we'll catch you next time on the Workhorse Podcast.